Disclaimer, if you're not Filipino or you're not familiar with my own language, which is Tagalog, please click the CC button so you would read the full English subtitles of this video. Isa ang tubig sa pinakamahirap na subject na gawin sa isang painting, ngunit na-achieve ito ng isang artist na ating kikilalanin sa video na ito. Mabuhay! Ako si Rema and welcome to my art space. At tayo po ay nandito ngayon sa Gateway Gallery para sa unang solo exhibit ng ating kasining na si Roberto Martin Singh.
Magandang araw, ako si Roberto Martin Singh, sa akong pintor. Ako ay membro ng ilang mga art groups like Philippine Puzzle Artists, Grupo Quadro, then recently yung Filipino Portrait Artists Guild or PhilPAG, saka yung Outdoor Archivists. Matagal na akong mahilig sa pagpipinta mula pagkabata. Nag-drafting ako ng high school, sumasali ako ng contest before, pero hindi namin kinaya ang fine arts kasi noon sobrang mahal. Scholar ako sa dalawang paaralan, pero kahit full scholar pa, di pa rin namin afford. Kaya nagpunta muna ako sa Eduk. So eventually, found my way back, and I met a lot of mentors, and here I am, full-time artist tayo.
Since nabanggit niyo po nung bata pa kayo, nag-start mag-art, pero yung seryosong art, as in yung nag-aral talaga kayo,
okay.
Kailan po kayo nag-start?
Nag-start po ako nun, siguro, I would say 2015. Nagkaroon ng Mandaluyong Painting Competition, then someone invited me to join. During that time, marunong ako mag-acrylic painting kasi nung college natutunan ko siya. Pero I never expected that something would turn out ganun. Kasi alam ko, professional category yun eh. Then nagulat ako, pagdating ng awarding, I was the champion, modesty aside. Nanalo ako. Tapos ang nag-second yun si Froilan Galpo. Kailan ang pintor yun? So parang gulat sila, parang, saan ka galing? Sabi ko, teacher ako by profession. Sabi sa akin ni Froilan, bro, sama ka na sa amin mula ngayon sa events. So parang doon nag-start yung talaga professional painting. 2016, naglalabay ako sa Shangri-La. Then for some reason, I had this feeling, para akong restless. So that time, meron dong art gallery, yung Banggerahan. Sarado na siya ngayon eh. 9 to 8 na yung pumalit. Naglalaboy lang ako doon, tapos titingin ako, tatanong ko paano mag-consign. Doon ko na-meet si Kuya Jeffrey Consumo. Then yung pinaka-long-term mentor ko, si Kuya Moyo Montes, Romeo Montes. Then sila Mr. Abby Lovendino. Yun, so silang tatlo, yung parang naging, kumbaga Carousel, yung tatlong tiyo. Mula no, naging, tinayo nila on the spot yung Tokyo Artists. It was a short-lived group na doon ako nahasa naman sa on the spot. 2020, lockdown, I joined PPA's Katawaan Challenge or parang monthly challenge. Doon ko na-meet ng PPA, they encouraged me to join the national competition. So yun, medyo marunong na magpastel that time because of some people I see online, pati yung sa Tokyo nga. Pinalad ako sa honorable mention twice. Then, ninominate ako as officer. Tapos, tuloy-tuloy yung mentorship. Meet ko sila Sir Julius, sila Sir Alvin, sila Miss Iris, sila Miss Nell. Then, 2023, si Kuya Moyo, sinama na ako sa Quadro. Then, ayun, pinakalala na ako kay Sir C. Then, within few weeks, Sir C naman, siguro nakita yung determination ko. Ginawa na agad ako legit na member. So, yun, officer na rin ako ng Quadro. I retired from teaching last January. The reason is not because I wanted to pursue my passion. I also love teaching. Tsaka nagagawa ko naman to on the side. Pero I was born with a rare disease, yung Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome. So I have a lot of blood vessels in my right leg that shouldn't be there. So I'm in constant pain. At least pareho kami may house. Si Gregory House, yung doktor na praning. So pareho kami may pain problem. So cool, di ba? Yan. Right now I'm being treated for blood clots. So, paggabi talagang masakit yung binti ko. So, our medical director advised me, sabi na, progressive yung sakit mo, walang cure yan. The more you teach, the more you stand up, lalo magpo-progress. It's your choice. Ayoko namang busin ang sarili ko sa profession, di ba? Paano naman yung pamilya ko? Paano naman ako? Kakatake ko ng pain meds, nasira din liver ko eh. So, parang double jeopardy. Tapos matako pa ako. Stress eater ako eh. I took the leap of faith and went full time.
Kumbaga, you decided to choose yung
Yes,
what you like better.
Yes, tsaka ano na rin naman parang, honestly, hindi pa naman ganun kalaki yung demand sa works ko para po masabing kayang tapatan yung kinikita ko noon. Hindi na malaki. Maganda sweldo ko. It's not that high, pero definitely enough naman to live alone. So malaking bagay na wala sa akin. Pero ganun din eh, kakasakit ka rin. Maiksi buhay mo. So ba't ko pa siya tutuloy?
Gano'ng katagal po ba kayo naging teacher, sir?
16 years in total. So 1 year doon part-time. So 15 years in the government service. So nakapag-retire naman ako ng maayos. Then meron ako in-expect na pension at age 60. Pwede na. Though alam ko, because of inflation, wala nang value yun. Pero kung makakabili ng ilang canson, pwede na yan. Because of this show din, hindi ko rin naasikaso health ko eh. Pero at least, nagawa ko na.
Public school teacher po ba kayo?
University yun, sa Rizal Technological University. Social studies teacher ako by profession. Doon ako nag-masters ng psychology na rin kasi kailangan yun eh. Then naging admin din ako. I was a department head for almost 9 years. Then nung mag-retire ako, sobrang stress-free. Yes.
Pero at least dito pag nagpe-paint kayo, parang nakakalma kayo.
Nakakalma talaga ako even before. Sama-sama ng loob ko po noon pag yung teacher ako, di ako nakakapagpinta. May mga rant post pa ako noon, lulungkot ako yung mga gamit ko. Pag may pera, bili ko ng bili ng gamit.
Ayaw po.
Yung mga may tinatawag ng mga budol people eh. Yung mga malakas mga hila, bili ka na nito. Totoo naman eh, budol. Ayun, ang blessing nando, marami ko nung meet na students na natutulungan ko, natututo rin ako sa kanila. Right now, actually, I'm still teaching. Meron akong 2 drawing courses na hawak before. When I retired, nobody took over. Then, tropa ko naman yung head. Sabi ko, kaya nyo bang i-adjust ng isang araw yan? Kahit 10 hours yun. Sige, okay, kunin ko. So, nandun lang ako. I just go there to have fun. Tulong din naman yung kinikita ko. Doon mas mababa yung pay. So, pero yung pinaka-joy doon, yung I get the chance to meet students to share what I know. Tsaka nakita ko rin yung eagerness sila. Kasi it's a state university, so yung mga students doon, they're not as privileged as other learners na.
So, ito naman tayo since yung Cool Waters. This is your first ever exhibit po.
Yes po, first solo show.
Bakit po ito po yung theme na pinili niyo for your exhibit?
Honestly, ito kasi yung pinakamabenta. I've sold more than 30 plus na Cool Waters paintings since I started the series 2017. Cool Waters kasi no-brainer. Pinta ako ng batis. Mukhang malamig yung tubig. Hindi Cool Waters. May kapangalan pa bango. Ba't pa ako mag-iisip? Kasi ako, ang idea ko sa painting, di ba, dito sa series na to, normally people paint to convey ideas, to express. Dapat may certain intellectual depth din daw yun eh. Pero my purpose before is in stress, ko siya, para outlet ko, stress reliever ko.
Yeah.
Ayoko na mag-isip na masyadong malalim, unless competition.
Yeah.
Eh di naman ipag-compete everyday, di ba? Parang gusto ko lang siyang tapos extra income na rin, pambili ng gamit. Ito yung pinush ko. People keep on telling me, bumibili. Nare-relax ako pag nakikita ko yung gawa mo. So ako, pag nare-relax ako ang ginagawa ko, and then I get to share the same benefit to others. Bakit hindi yun? Ang dami-dami natin nakikita na parang very deep, intellectually challenging na artworks. I have the highest respect for that. Pero dito muna tayo sa, parang I offered an alternative. Ganun, parang escapism nga. Ganun ang dating. Kaya ito yung pinili ko.
Nakikita ko sa mga posts niyo, pupunta pa talaga kayo sa
yes po.
Yung experience niyo po doon.
Wala kasi akong probinsya. Manila, talagang Mandaluyong ako eh. So, almost 40 years in Mandaluyong. Dati, napagkukunan ko ng picture, meron Facebook group yung free reference photos for artists. So, kukuha ko ng photos doon. Natuto ko sa kay Mr. Jerry Arnel, American artist. Hindi naman kokopyahin na isang reference eh. You put elements together to compose your own scene. Ingit ako sa mga artists na nasa probinsya. Kasi talagang nandun sila, nakapag-playing area sila. Gusto ko rin yan. Pag-in-drive kami one time, may family. Kinotrato ko yung driver. Sige sir, ganitong oras, ganitong araw, punta tayo sa Tanay. Honestly, sinundo na ako na 5 AM, di namin alam saan kami pupunta. Then, sa maraming, pinakamalapit na rito, Tanay daw. 44 kilometers away. Di areglo sa presyo, punta kami ron. Kasi wala kaming talagang goal kundi makahanap ng batis. Noong una ko makita yung ilog, naluha ako. Ganito pala kaganda yun sa personal. Sketchbook ko doon, yun yung sinetap ko siya doon sa gitna nung, hindi naman gitna, pero malapit na sa yun, mababaw naman eh. lumayo ka sa Pampang, doon ka siya sinet up. Naranasan ko magpinta na lubog yung pa ako sa ano. Natandaan ko yung feeling, yung kulay. Importante kasi yung plein air. Kasi yung mga old masters, doon sila natuto. And it's becoming rare.
Paano niyo po ba na-develop yung discipline para i-improve niyo yung art skill niyo?
Ako naman kasi, may pagka-obsessive ako sa isang bagay na gusto ko talaga. Hindi naman yung obsessive na negative. Siguro, yung pinanggalingan nun, lumaki ko, nanonood ako ng Dragon Ball. They will do nothing but train and train and train.
Ay,
Diba? So, parang doon na-gets ko yung value of training. Kasi when I was young, yun talaga ang pinaka-band na, parang commonality sa amin ng friends namin. We're all Dragon Ball fans.
yeah.
Even yung Yu Yu Hakusho, so sa anime. Yun naman talagang gusto ko una yung animator eh. Kaya ako magpa-fine arts eh, for that. Eh, nung time na yun, chat daw na Phil Cartoons, so wala. Before I got into painting, nung bandang high school, college, then early years ko sa teaching, nagbabanda ako. And my favorite guitar player was Steve Vai. Si Steve Vai, kilala siya for practicing 10 hours per day.
Wow.
There were times that nagagawa ko yun, yung 10 hours per day, lalo nung college ako. Not playing songs, but just doing exercises. So ngayon, medyo kupas na. Muscle memory, andyan pa rin.
Wow.
Kumbaga, kaya ko pa rin tumugtog. So that same amount of discipline probably, na-crossover siya sa painting. Tapos si Jerry Yarnell, yung unang book na nabasa ko sa painting. So para siyang alternative na Bob Ross, pero sa acrylic. Then, pinaka-lately na lang, kaya meron ako Department of Art na ano dito, si James Gurney. Bilib ako doon kasi hindi po siya fine arts din eh. Parang archaeologist siya by profession, paleontologist. Then, tumakas lang sa trainer sila ni Thomas Kincaid. Ano sila, yung, sorry for the tip, umistokwa, sumampa sa trend, tapos nagtatago doon, sketch lang na sketch. So yung ganong klase, gusto kong gawin yun, kaso maybe I'm too old for that. Then out of that, they were able to write a book. So imagine yung ganong discipline, then I would hear from masters. Sila Kuya Moyo, di ba? Sila Sir C. Cadid. Despite their accomplishments in art, doon ako pinaka na-inspire, lalo sa quadro, for example. Ang taas na narating mo, practice ka pa ng practice. Ako naman, personal goal mo lang, niniwala ako sa parable of the talent. When the time comes, I'll offer everything back to God. Ano yung nakaya ko. Gusto ko nang sagarin kung ano yung kaya kong gawin. I'm competing against myself, not others. Going back to my guitar days din, meron akong certain belief na, or parang personal ano ko lang, yung idolo mo, dapat, anytime, kaya mo siyang sabayan sa stage. Or kaya mo siyang palitan. Kasi that's how you honor his legacy. Though I can never be the same person, pero that's how I honor my mentors, my inspirations.
Kumbaga, higitan mo yung sarili mo.
Yes po, ganun. The only way to overcome those things, you have to keep on moving forward. Hindi ko mag-get sa sinasabing art block sa totoo lang eh.
You don't experience art
I don't.
block, yeah.
Kasi I never run out of things to do. Ang dami naman pwedeng ipinta, kahit doorknob, pwedeng may ipinta yan eh. Minsan nga, pag what keeps you going forward, what prevents art block? The biggest answer ko rin doon, yung pinaka-realistic na sagot, bills. I have to keep on painting. May paninda ako. Pag tumigil akong pinta, wala akong paninda, paano ako kakain?
Kumbaga, one of the challenges din as an artist din is
Yes.
finances.
Finances. May pera talaga sa pagpipinta, malaki. I've seen some who, isang painting nila, million, hundreds of thousand. Though, syempre, mostly sa gallery, so may cut pa yun. But still, di ba? Imagine, isang painting mo, ganun. I know some artists na million ng halaga. Pag nakabenta ng isang pyesa, ilang months na magpapahinga yan. Sana all. Ako naman, open ako dun sa sa idea na talaga magugutom ang pintor. Iba rin yung push talaga kasi pag gutom ka, pag struggling ka yung level of creativity iba. In fact, I wanted to experience that and I did. Pagka-retire ko, there was a time na naubos na yung ipon ko. Paano yan? So I have to sell. Pero di naman tayo pinababayaan ng Diyos. Mahirap lang masyado tayong sigurista eh. Diba? Basta gawa lang ng gawa.
For those who want to be artists, pero syempre parang sila, maka-challenges kayo, pero encouragement naman sa kanila.
Find a mentor. Tsaka stay humble. Be teachable. Hanapin niyo yung style nyo. Ako yung style ko, ang gusto ko kasi mangyaring style yung pag pinahid, pag nakita yung gawa ko, gawa na sing yan. Hindi dahil may ganitong element. Mas gusto ko yung nakikilala yung gawa ko dahil mukhang ako. Hindi yung mukha ko pero yung kulay, yung pahid, whether perfect or imperfect yan. Basta makita nila yung identity ko doon. Basta find a mentor kasi yun yung magiging parang critic mo. Don't just listen to anyone. Ngayon kasi ang daming source of information pero they don't know where to start. Tapos, stay away from clout. The biggest enemy of an artist is their ego. Ego. Number one yan. Diba? May pirma mo yan, but it's never about you. It's about what you create, the joy you can give people. Yung character bilang pintor ang pinakamalaga sa lahat. Hindi yung kung ano yung kayang gawin. Hindi naman natin madadala sa kung saan lahat ng pupundar natin. After 100, 200 years, swerte kung may makakaalala sa atin. Kung meron man, sana maalala tayo sa kabutihan. Hindi lang dahil sa kung ano kaya natin gawin.
In this final segment, we'll see the finished result of this painting while Robert explains its process.
It's based on an image I took when I went to Daraitan, Barangay Daraitan in Tanay Rizal a few months back. So ang egg tempera kasi, so by the way, I used a pre-mixed egg tempera from Sennelier. So I only have 5 colors. It's I bought this during the pandemic from Art Nebula. Ang egg tempera kasi, historically known siya for being fast drying, transparent, and not so blendable. Pwede kang mag-opaque, pero you don't expect it to have a good covering strength, similar to acrylic or oil or even casein. In this case, I had to do both. By the way, the support here is treated marine plywood. I only used primaries, then black and white, stream values. Yung mga bright yellows na to, these are parang transparent layers to. Baga parang ito yung first na layer, naging light to dark. In contrast pag oil or acrylic, dark to light, parang last yung mga highlights. Dito, I had to leave out some of the bright highlights. See what happens if I'll try to put, gagawa ako na parang ito, white to, for example, dito sa part na to. As you can see, kita naman siya pero it's not as vibrant kapag minsan naka-leave out na layers. It doesn't work well pag sa opaque layers. By the way, hindi siya pwedeng masyadong makapal kasi pwede siya mag-crack or mag-chip off. To preserve the work, final fixative to. This is for pastel, charcoal, and pencil. After that, I'll use this gloss varnish with UV protection.
If you like this video, please click the like button, and if you're here in my channel for the first time, please subscribe and also click the bell button so you'd be notified of future videos from me. Again, ako po si Rema at sana po ay na-enjoy niyo po ito, and I hope to see you again in my next art space. Bye!